All right, friends, it's T-Man. We are back with a new video again on JasonBlaha, Strength and Fitness. You know who? The lifting gym slave, the recruiting lifting slave. Yes, man. I'm going to review this video. It's interesting. Blaha says, let's see what he says. Blaha says, training to failure explained with examples. This is going to be really interesting to hear. Okay.
Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here. I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys.
It is you, Jason.
Let me get a sip of my water first.
Again, the water, we know it's Kool-Aid, don't lie.
A beautiful radio voice going. Let's talk about this. Thought I would do a video for you about failure, mainly because I've made videos discussing failure a lot, but I'm going to throw some demonstrations in here in a bit of me hitting failure. Because I'm doing failure on over half of my sets every week. Probably the majority at this point. The ones I don't get to failure, I get within 1 rep of failure, or I do a little bit of rest pause. But I do quite a few sets to failure, to where either the weight stops moving or form breaks down. So we need to understand, anytime the weight just stops with good form, and you just simply, the weight stops. Not because you cramped up or it hurt and you couldn't push through. Right, that's a problem. Like if you can't push through the last couple of reps to get to failure, that's an issue. Because failure means you're still straining, you might be straining a little bit, and then the weight just simply will not move. Okay?
I don't know what the fascination is with going to failure. Why do you need to go to failure? Because I think in the back of his mind, he thinks, I'm gonna get another adaptation if I go to failure. But the muscle has repaired and remodeled itself already when you got an adaptation in those exercises, stronger, making them more resilient from further assault of getting damaged. That's the problem.
That's it. Now, if you cheat or something, that's failure. You failed. So if you have to change your form, so even like you guys will see me on skull crushers, that's a perfect example. That's an exercise you wouldn't want to hit failure itself on, so I'll take it to technical failure, right? Which means.
So he's going to take it to technical failure. Here's the problem with that. Look, I will explain this really quickly, okay? So during hypertrophic process, okay, we know that muscle has an MND size limit, okay. But that's during hypertrophic process. So during hypertrophic process, MND size has a ceiling limit during hypertrophic process. This is what they're trying to explain to you. It says during this process, beyond which extramyonuclei are donated by satellite cell to support further muscle growth. So it's beyond it, to support further muscle growth. So what is Blaha gonna do? Blaha is gonna go to failure. Do you understand me? Which it doesn't work. Failure doesn't work. What you need to do is a different exercise so you can get a different adaptation according to that particular hybrid muscle, type 2 muscle fiber, okay? Each muscle fiber in your body, I know this is hard to understand, for people to understand, but for some reason, your maker made you with several different types of hybrid muscle fibers in those type 2s, and they are coordinated accordingly to what that movement you're doing. They get stronger according to that movement. Whichever movement that you do, I don't know what it is, but whatever movement you're doing, it'll damage, repair, and remodel stronger. I don't know what strength is to you, lifting a heavy weight. But in this case, muscles, they repair and remodel stronger, so they're resilient from getting assaulted with a second repeated bout, called the repeated bout effect phenomena. You understand me? So now you either go much heavier in weight, you go heavier, right? Much heavier. That's the only way. You got to go heavier to assault these muscle fibers, to get them to damage, repair, and remodel even stronger. There may be some more deeper muscle fibers within that hybrid that are weaker. Or you got to do a different exercise. See what I mean? A different movement exercise, which those have never been damaged before to that movement, to that particular exercise. That's the only way. And they call that an adaptation. That's all. But this is failure staying there, thinking, well, if I go to failure, maybe that will get me over MND size limit, and it'll donate its nuclei. It'll damage the progenitor will be activated, and it'll magically donate its myonuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth, which is not going to happen, okay? Because it's adapted. But this brain dead coach doesn't understand the fundamentals of bodybuilding because he doesn't really see science as a viable thing for him. You understand me? He denies science. Science just gives you an indicator as to what is happening there. That gives you a measure, a tool to measure to figure out how to get more adaptations.
Which means it's coming down that I can't get that last rep, so instead of just doing this, I'll do this.
Does that sound fucking hilarious, bro? This is pure failure, okay?
A little bit of a pullover because I can't complete the rep and I don't want to hit my face. Right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of lifts, bench or a squat, it's hard because it's going to hit the pins if you hit.
Yeah, that's going to get you an adaptation. Yeah, magically. It's going to get it to donate these nuclei magically, yes, to support further muscle growth. That's why it's not growing.
So we might take a short breather, a few seconds.
This is the reason why so many natural people are not growing, because they don't understand it's based on an adaptation system. Muscle growth is based on an adaptation system. It isn't based on, I'm gonna get a stronger, I'm gonna get a bigger. You're not gonna get a stronger, you're gonna get a bigger. If you get bigger, you get stronger for sure. But if you get a stronger lift, you're not going to get bigger. But it can be used, that force production. Now that you're good at lifting something heavy, that force production can be used to get adaptations in a particular movement to move heavier in weight. That's the whole point of being trained. Listen, the whole point about being trained already in an adapted state, getting more force production, is making you better now lifting a heavier weight. Now you can go back, resensitize, and get some new adaptations and muscle growth, which will make you physically stronger. Yeah.
He's out one more rep if we think we can get it, just to avoid hitting the pins. That's still going to pretty much count because you're still at 0 reps in reserve. But usually the weight just stops moving. But what I tell people, don't cheat in order to get there, like by swinging, okay? Only on an exercise to where like the weight is going to hit your face. The weight is going to staple you. That makes sense to shift just a little bit to get that last rep, but you shouldn't be swinging. So in other words,
that's going to magically grow. Here's the problem with all these going to failure. Here's the best part. The only growth that you're going to see going to this failure, I'll tell you what it is failure. Well, no. It's going to be inflammation. That's what you're going to get. You're going to inflame the muscles. Look, muscles are adapted. There's no more adaptations. So what exactly are you doing there in the gym? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're simply swelling the cell. You're getting inflammation. You're inflaming the muscles. So you're walking around with an inflammatory response, getting a high off that. And you think, well, I got growth. Or even the pump. And you're getting the pump, which is transient. And you're getting this temporary swelling, which will last maybe a day, maybe 2, I don't know, depends. But you keep coming back to the gym just to swell your muscles up, which is crazy. That'll accelerate aging. And that could also perpetrate chronic diseases. That's why exercise is not healthy. Laboring is not healthy. Laboring in a gym or laboring in a factory is not healthy for you. Getting inflammation in your body is definitely not healthy. It's not healthy for any people in a labor job, and anybody laboring in a gym lifting a heavy weight as well. Is not healthy for you in any way. It's actually unhealthy to do these things.
On a curl, on a row, on a pull-up, don't start swinging to do it because you're not getting the training. So you need to understand that.
Yes, I understand that you're crazy. Here, I never go to a gym. I don't exercise. The only time I ever go to a gym is if I know I'm going to get an adaptation. And when I stop getting any adaptations and I'm adapted, I quit. I stop, I go away, I do specific things. I take more time off, I resensitize or something. And I regroup and I figure out what's my next plan that I need to do to get an adaptation, because the body rapidly adapts. And then you get zero adaptations. You're getting nothing there. There's nothing going on there. Huh. Yeah, man.
It's purely done for safety purposes if it's a lift where the weight's going to hit you. It's not helping you grow. That rep doesn't count, really. It's a failed rep. Understand the difference. So you shouldn't be doing it on an exercise to where you can just turn loose, where the weight's just going to drop, and it's not going to crush you or hit your face or land on your chest or staple you. Don't cheat. Just the rep just doesn't finish, right? Your pull-up, just let it drop. Your curl, just let it drop, okay? That's what I'm talking about. That is what you want to do, and that's muscle failure, okay? Because why? The muscle is no longer able to recruit. But I think on at least one of these...
That's muscle failure. Muscle failure. Why? Because the muscle is no longer able to recruit. What do you mean it's not able to recruit? You've fatigued it. It's fatigued. It can't move any further. That's all you've done. It can't recruit. Of course it can't recruit.
Sets I'm going to show you guys see me definitely streaming. You can see my face. It is starting to burn. It is starting to hurt. Right? A lot of people, and this is problem.
It's starting to burn. It's starting to hurt. Okay, but he hasn't mentioned anything about any growth there going on, any adaptations.
They will stop short because as soon as some people feel a strain, or if they feel a really intense pump or the muscle starting to cramp, they just quit. That is not going to work. That's not acceptable. You're not going to effectively do what you're trying to do that way, right? You're not going to achieve it that way because you're falling short. Therefore, it's a lower quality set. You're going to have to do more volume to make up.
Even I knew back in the day, I remember people in the gym, they're like, one guy was like trying to do slow repetitions. They were trying to do slow on bench, doing this and that. I vividly could see them now. I remember. They were trying every modality to get an adaptation. That's what I understood what they were trying to do in the gym. They were doing very slow repetitions, thinking they can eke out a new adaptation doing these slow repetitions. I also knew when they were talking to each other, I remember that they were talking, these two guys, and they were like, well, the other guy was telling him, yeah, you have to do different exercises. You have to do things that you haven't done before. Well, yeah, that would mean a new adaptation. See, you've never done it before. You'll get an adaptation in that exercise. That's the whole point. Maybe they didn't explain it that way. They didn't explain it that way to him. I remember this older guy. He didn't explain it to that guy that way. But he was trying to tell him if you do different things, basically you'll get a new adaptation. Yeah.
For that. So if you're trying to be really efficient with your training, like what you see me doing, literally.
So yeah, people back then, they understood these things. They understood how to utilize full body workout, resensitize, come back, hit it again and get an adaptation. These are all things rapidly adapt. Even your food, this, that, your body, whatever you're doing, man, it rapidly adapts. Why do you think your meals are never the same? You're always eating different meals. Because it would get boring, right? People are bored quickly. That's why they eat unhealthy food, because they're bored.
6 sets of muscle group a week. Every one of those sets better have a very pronounced muscle growth stimulus. This is what you need to have. You need to have that. It needs to happen. Okay?
It needs to happen, but it's not happening. There's no muscle growth stimulus. There's no growth. It only ever happens in an adaptation, but it could become apoptotic if you don't feed it properly. Protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown in that adaptation to see growth.
Otherwise, it happen. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to just have to do more volume. So again,
you're going to have to do more volume. I think when they say volume, he means more sets, right? Could you equate the more volume being less sets but more higher repetitions? Is that high volume as well? It's all dependent on what you're trying to do exactly. You try to look better, this, that, burn fat, thermogenic effects, some adaptations. These are adaptations too, Look, trying to burn body fat is an adaptation because your body will rapidly adapt. It doesn't want to lose fat because it needs to carry you through a famine. You're doing it for a cosmetic look, for cosmetic purposes to lose fat. But again, your body doesn't want to lose fat, so it rapidly adapts. So what do people do? They do, I don't know, they go to boxing classes, they start boxing. Okay, you may get an adaptation there, losing body fat, but then it'll rapidly adapt and it won't work anymore. It'll just do it very quickly. Okay, maybe you run on a treadmill, I don't know. Or you do these machines like arms and feet up and down pulling. There's the bicycle machine. I don't know, man. There's like these. I see these people with ropes, pulling with the ropes. They pull the ropes up and down in the air. There's a whole bunch of things, or they're pulling ropes down with their arms, pulling them down on this machine. So yeah, again, it'll rapidly adapt. That's why you need to switch between all these exercises. Why do you think they have so many machines in a gym? They have introduced so many machines, cables, dumbbells, barbells. It's so you can keep doing different exercises so you don't adapt to them. And then you get new adaptations doing different exercises. That's the whole point. But the problem is you're all adapted to the exercises that you're doing.
This whole idea of just normal straight sets to failure. Don't necessarily have to do rest pause. You don't need to do drop sets. You don't have to do any of that. I would argue a lot of that isn't as effective as people think it is if we go upon the way that we know that muscle fibers recruit what causes muscle growth, right? Because you're just re-hitting, how do I put it? You're hitting muscle fibers again that are not going to grow because they may be near their growth potential anyways. So
No, they're not. You're not hitting these muscle fibers. They're near their growth potential. They're repaired and remodeled stronger, so they're resilient from getting damaged with a repeated bout. Get it? From further assault. Boy, is he dumb, eh? What an idiot.
as we start to get more and more advanced, we are trying to get to the upper threshold muscle fibers. And we're only getting those by reaching very close to failure.
No, that's not how you do it. That's you don't reach. Wow, this guy's crazy. Okay, yeah, go ahead, try that. You could stay there forever doing that. It's not going to work. For steroid people, anything would work. Okay, they'll just get pumped up with some sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. They'll walk upstairs and get pumped legs, whatever. They'll ride bicycles and get pumped legs and do anything. Okay. But this guy, he's crazy. Not in a person that is in the natural world, in the normal world lifting.
Okay, or nearly maximum weights, but it's kind of hard to get enough reps to grow from maximum weights. It would count as one good rep.
It doesn't grow from maximum weights, but yeah, no, they'll grow from maximum weights. It's called inflammatory response, inflammation, cell swelling. They'll definitely grow, but it'll be temporary. But if you want to get muscle damage, doing that, yeah, heavier would be good. Yeah.
That's it. So, this is what we're trying to achieve. But we need to get to those muscle fibers if we want to keep growing, if we're no longer a novice lifter. So really the only people that it almost even makes sense to do a lot of that stuff for, either people using a lot of stuff or maybe somewhat novice lifters. Outside of that, straight sets just taken to right at failure or very, very close, either the failure or within 0 reps in reserve. That's really going to be your money spot for a set per set basis. And then that lets you cut your volumes down and get a few more exercises in if you need to, so that you get a wider variety of stimulus so that we can get the most muscle growth possible. Okay? Another thing you don't
But you're not.
want to do, I always tell people, it's not failure. Like, let's say you're benching. Guys will shift under a weight.
I like the word failure. That's why he's a failure, because he's working to failure. And he's failing at it. That's the whole point. Working to failure makes you a failure.
They're benching, right? And they'll get, and then they do their.
Think about it. Why do you think they call it working to failure? Because you're failing. That's the whole point. Well, in the gyms, when they said working to failure, back in the day, as far as I could remember, when somebody said you worked a set to failure, means that you failed. That's what it meant, really. You're not supposed to go to failure. That's why they call it failure, because you're failing. It's a failure to go to failure.
And they slide under it. Okay? I would ask someone doing that, is your goal to look like that guy Reggie? I think it was Reggie from Lady in the Water, where he just only worked out one side of his body. That's a good way to achieve that look. If you want to be imbalanced, you want your right pec, your right tricep, your right bicep, you want all of that bigger than the left, train like that. Shift under the weight. Shift under the weight like that. Do the same thing when you row and everything else. Use all that shifting and sliding. It'll imbalance.
Yeah, guys, you got to use all that shifting and sliding to get that in balance. You know, that's going to cause it to grow.
Because now the hardest reps are being taken almost entirely by one side. So one side of the body will always get a larger training stimulus on every single set.
One side of the body is going to get more of a training. Okay, all right.
Not a good thing. And it's usually the side that's already bigger and stronger. So if you're slightly imbalanced, you can go ahead and make it more imbalanced. Don't do that. But I'm going to go ahead and flip in some examples of me hitting failure for you guys.
Is that Blaha? He's setting failure. Look at this. Oh. You gotta love the special effects. That was failure? What was that? Three reps? 4 reps? That was failure? Damn, he failed. And okay, so he went to what he calls failure. I don't know. That he couldn't, in other words, he couldn't rep out any more reps. They call that failure, yes. Okay, what's that going to do? What's that going to do?
All right, guys, but that's really all.
You're adapted to these exercise, Blaha. Just because you went to failure, that's not going to cause the progenitor to donate its nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. You understand me? Hello. Haha.
All I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys and gals next time.
Yes, it was very informative for messing up people out there. I bet there's people watching that video thinking, oh, I have to do what Blaha did. I have to go to failure so I could be a failure like Blaha and never grow any muscles. Okay. You gotta love this stuff, man. People out there, these influencers and everybody, they all think they got the magic training, the magic pill, the magic this to building muscle. Meanwhile, they don't know F all about building muscles, bro. They don't even know how they work. They don't know anything. They don't know about the motor units. They don't understand androgen receptors, how to accumulate more androgen receptors for more force production and stuff, or how CNS really does work, or why the progenitor donates its nuclei, or what these nuclei are for, what they do in the body, how they support further muscle growth, and so forth and so on. It's just insane, bro. The whole lifting world, fitness world is based on insanity to keep you insane. Like what I would call Einstein? Einstein once said, Doing the same thing, looking for a different outcome is madness. It is. It's madness. And I see it every day when I go to gyms. I see people. They're doing this all the time. It's madness. I'll see you in the next one, man. Tell us what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel, helps with the algorithm. I'll see you in the next video, my friends. Ciao. Have a beautiful Easter weekend.